It's time to make it, just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to this episode of You Can Make It with David Farrell, the old fat guy. Once again, I'm not cooking anything, but you'll note that a little while ago I did a video on putting together my Bradley smoker. Well, today I'm going to give you a review of the Bradley P10 smoker and tell you things I like about it, things I don't like, and give you my final recommendation. First of all, let's just look at the unit. It's all stainless steel, which is really easy to clean, and I like that. However, stainless steel does show every fingerprint, but I'd rather have easy to clean than worry about a couple little cosmetic fingerprints. The other thing I really like about it is how heavy and insulated it is. You'll see that it's got double walls on all the construction. It's got silicone seal. Because it's so thick, heavy, and well insulated, it will likely hold the heat better. So I really like that part of the construction. The other part of the construction I like is all the controls on the panel are quite handy and easy. And the old unit had a box on the side that you put biscuits in. This one, that's built into the unit. So I just think it looks cleaner. I think just general first appearances, I was quite impressed with the Bradley smoker. Now, let's go into some of the things I didn't like about the Bradley smoker. One of them is that it defaults to centigrade for the temperature readings. You can change it easily by pushing a button, but there should be a way you can change it so that it stays at Fahrenheit when you turn it off and turn on, so you're not constantly have to change it if you want to cook in Fahrenheit. I haven't been able to find any method to change it permanently to Fahrenheit, and that's just a little bit of a flaw in my opinion. The other thing I found out about it was that it's a little finicky in the keypad. Sometimes touching them, you have to give it a second tap. It doesn't pick up on it right away, but that's pretty minor. There is a third thing I didn't like, though. It comes with 2 temperature probes, which is very convenient. You can use those 2 probes in 2 different pieces of meat, or in a thigh of a chicken and the breast. It's got a lot of different benefits of being able to keep track of 2 different probes. But they will let you press the probe and set a target temperature. And when the probe reaches that temperature, an alarm goes off. That's very handy. But if you do that, you can't touch the probe and read the temperature the probe is at right now. If you want to know what the temperature is, you have to turn that setting off and reset it. Don't care for that so much. There should be some way to be able to read both the setting for the alarm and the current temperature. Now, there are a couple of things that I kind of a love-hate relationship with the Bradley on. I'm just going to check my notes here. The first is this symbol right here is the child lock. And what happens is if you don't use the unit for a while or don't enter anything, that comes on and the whole panel goes dead. Now that's really a good safety feature. It stops kids from messing with it or any problems, and it's easy to turn off. You just push that button in. But my problem with it was when I bought the unit, I read the manual and I read all the operating instructions and everything, and nowhere in the operating instructions did I find the instruction that if that is lit up, the keypad is locked. It is in the description of the buttons, but it should have been clearer in the operating instructions, maybe even as the first statement, to say if the child lock is lit up, turn it off or you can't operate it. But now that I know about it, it's not a big issue any longer. And I have another like and dislike, and that is the program cook. You can use a program you can download to put a program for set instructions to cook on a USB and load it into here, so you can just select that program and it'll run through several steps. I love that. It was really convenient. I made some sausage that has to go from 140 degrees to 150 to 160 to 170, and then to a set temperature on the probe, and it did it great. But the hate part was one little problem. When you put it in, if you put in 60 minutes of smoke and 60 minutes of heat and turn it on, the smoke doesn't start right away. Like when I did my sausage, I did 20 minutes at 140 degrees and then 40 minutes of smoke and still at 140 degrees. But to save pucks, which we'll talk about later, it doesn't move the smoked puck over to the heater until it's heated up. So, as far as the unit was concerned, it was doing 40 minutes of smoke and 40 minutes of heat, but the smoke didn't start till about 7 minutes, 8 minutes later when the element heated up. So there was about, at the end of it, it actually turned the heat off for 7 or 8 minutes, but then it turned it back on when it got to the next program to finish the 20 minutes smoking. Now, I didn't find it a major problem because the unit is so well insulated. I only lost 2 or 3 degrees in that few minutes that were shut off, but you should know about it. So those are the things that I was kind of ambivalent about. But there's another. That is that you have to use their pucks. So I'm trusting Bradley will be there forever, but you've got to buy their pucks to put the smoke in it. Now that limits you, but I kind of like it too because I know from owning my prior Bradley, the Bradley pucks give you great smoke. Using the pucks gives you great control. You can use one puck for light smoke, or you can pack it up and smoke your way through the whole thing and just make that thing so smoky. So I kind of like that they've done such a good job on the pucks. Again, a little ambivalent. But there's several things I really like about the unit. And the major one is the temperature control. This unit is just rock solid at maintaining a steady temperature. And if you're doing smoking of sausage or a lot of really fancy smokes, that is critical. And this is one of the best units I've seen for having that. The other thing is it will do that even at low temperatures. My pellet smoker, I can't go much below about 165, maybe 170. This I can go right down to 180, and it maintains a great temperature. I really love the temperature control. The other thing I mentioned earlier is the biscuits are contained in the unit in the smoke generator, so there's no stuff sticking out. And the trays inside the unit have little clips on them in a top and bottom level that when you pull them out, they don't tip. That's a real nice treat if you're having to do things. The other thing is that it has a built-in lifting handle that you can take out. I'm always forgetting to bring oven mitts out. You can move these trays just by using the handle that comes with the unit, pull them out, turn them, do whatever you want. It's a really cool little toy. I also like the fact that it no longer wastes biscuits. My old Bradley basic smoker, I always seemed to have one biscuit that ended up in the water ruined, or it would be used to push out another biscuit at the end and would be half burnt, so I couldn't use it for the next smoke. They've put a new disc system in that only moves the barbecue wood pucks over to the heat when you need them, and there's no lost biscuits. I like that. The other thing is it's so easy to clean. The racks on the inside of it, you can lift them out and you can wipe the side down. There's no flanges, and if you've ever been trying to clean in those little cracks around a flange for a shelf and bashed your knuckles, you know that that's a great feature. There's a drip tray in here. The old one, I always found myself cleaning grease and stuff up the bottom or trying to put trays under it. This has a tray that redirects the grease to a special tray that catches it. It's much more efficient. And while I really like the temperature control of the unit, I also found the probes that you put in the meat to be very accurate. And they worked great, even for doing sausage that I wanted to get to a very specific temperature. This has everything I wanted when I got the unit because I wanted to make sausage. I wanted to do those low and slow smokes. There's a caution though. Just as with an oven or any other device I've used, if you take a tray and you really load it up with a lot of jerky or anything else, so there's not a lot of airflow through, the temperature below that and above that will be 5 to 10 degrees different because the heat doesn't radiate through as much, just like in your oven at home. And if you're reading a lot of fancy recipes and from the best places, they'll tell you to rotate the racks and trays. Same thing as your Bradley. If I had a wish, if I could do one thing to really make this unit perfect, it would be to put a Wi-Fi controller on it. But that comes on units of a lot more expense than this unit. I'm really quite happy without the Wi-Fi, but it's a good value without it, but I kind of wish it was available. I did do several tests in the few weeks I've owned it. I did a temperature test, and if you look at the graph, you'll see, as with most smokers, ovens, whatever you're cooking with, it starts off, and at the beginning of reaching the temperature, it overshoots by 15 or 20 degrees for the first few minutes and then settles in. But then you'll see, by the blue line is the target that I started at, which was 140 degrees. It was a straight line above it. Now, you know, there's two lines. That's because I put a laboratory quality temperature probe on the top and the bottom to see how they compared. And you'll see they're almost identical. They're a straight line, and they run about 8 to 10 degrees above the blue line. That's pretty close for any kind of cooking device. And it's easy to handle because it is so solid. Then I cranked the temperature up to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, it only took a few minutes to get up to temperature, and it ran two very straight lines. And then I went to the maximum temperature of 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, got up to temperature quite quickly, and two very straight lines that leveled off. But of course, the real test is, how does it cook things? Well, I started off making some sausages, because that's what I really got the unit for, and I made some pizza pepperoni and andouille sausage. And using both of them, I used the program cook. It worked perfectly. I was just able to plug it in, and away it went. And the probes were very accurate in measuring when it got to the finished temperature. Another test I did was chili lime jerky. I cooked it at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and jerky likes a good steady temperature, and boy was it perfect. It did a great job on jerky and gives me total control on how smoky I want the jerky by just controlling the number of pucks I use. I did hot smoked salmon at 180 degrees Fahrenheit with a probe. Perfect, gave a great result, solid temperatures. And I did some country-style ribs at the maximum temperature of 320 degrees Fahrenheit with the probes, and it actually even got some nice browning on them. They turned out great. So the issue is, would I recommend the Bradley smoker? Yes, I would. This particular unit has great temperature control. It is so good for doing sausages, and it does great for all the normal slow cooking things like ribs and pulled pork and brisket. Only downside in the brisket is, if you got a really big one, you might have to cut it up to fit it in here. The other place where it doesn't do a good job is if you ever want to really crispy oven fried style chicken in it, it just doesn't get hot enough. It's not designed for that. For that, you have to use a pellet or a barbecue charcoal smoker. But for what it's supposed to do, low and slow cooking, for making sausage, for hot smoking salmon, for doing cold smoking, this unit is deadly accurate. The little problems I have with the controls I rapidly got over. I would recommend this unit to anybody, and I have really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to making many more great dishes on it. And the best part is, if you get one, whatever dish you want, you'll be able to say you can make it.
I have a good woman, I ain't good looking, but I do some cooking. I'm the old fat guy. So use that oven if you want some lovin'. Be like the old fat guy. Be like the old fat guy.